Welcome back, dear dreamers, to Candle by the Sea, your haven for stories that carry you to worlds of wonder and light. Tonight, we continue Elara's timeless journey, a path lit by courage, responsibility, and hope as she follows the lingering glow of the last flame. But before we light the first flame, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale from Candle by the Sea. Every story is a spark waiting to guide you through the night. Now, let us walk together into the glow of the story. Elara and the Keeper of the Last Flame. Part 1. The Whisper of the Flame. The twilight stretched endlessly over the city of echoing dreams, brushing its tall spires and winding streets with a soft violet glow. Elara lingered at the edge of a rooftop, her eyes tracing the patterns of light reflected in the rivers below. Memories of the city, of the voices of the past, the laughter of fleeting souls, and the lingering echoes of lessons learned fluttered around her like delicate moths. She could still feel the pulse of the city beneath her feet, the rhythm of its hidden stories echoing in her chest. And yet, something called to her beyond the horizon, something she could not yet name. It began as a whisper, barely audible over the gentle sigh of the evening breeze. She tilted her head, listening. There it was again, a soft murmur, like a candle flickering in the distance, beckoning her. It tugged at her heart with a strange insistence, a thread of light and warmth that seemed woven into the very fabric of her being. The voice was not words, not sounds that could be spoken aloud. It was a feeling, a pull, a quiet urging towards some place she had never been, but somehow always knew existed. With a deep breath, Elara stepped from the rooftop onto the cobblestone streets, her boots echoing softly against the aged stones. She left the city of echoing dreams behind, the memories of the lives she had touched, and the lessons she had absorbed folding gently into her mind like pages in a book she could always return to. And as the city faded behind her, the whisper grew clearer. It led her past rolling hills and meadows, bathed in the silver light of the rising moon, past rivers that shimmered like molten glass, and through forests that hummed with a quiet, ancient magic. The forest welcomed her with open arms, shadows and light dancing in gentle harmony. Trees stretched high above, their leaves whispering secrets to one another in a language older than time. Fireflies blinked like tiny lanterns along the path, guiding her steps. Each breath of wind carried the scent of moss and dew, the promise of something sacred hidden just beyond the next rise. Somewhere, deep within this forest, the final flame waited. She did not yet know what form it would take, nor what trials awaited her, but the feeling in her chest, the warmth, the pull told her that it was meant for her alone to find. It was in a small clearing that she first saw the glimmer. At first, it was subtle, almost imperceptible, like the glint of sunlight on a distant river. But as she stepped closer, the light became warmer, steadier, radiating a golden hue that felt like the embrace of a long-lost friend. And with it came a sound, faint but undeniable, soft, rhythmic beating of a heart. Not a human heart, she realized, but the heartbeat of the flame itself, pulsing with life, with purpose, with an ancient wisdom that seemed to recognize her even before she fully understood it. Elara knelt beside the light, her fingers hovering above the soft glow. It did not burn, nor did it sting. It warmed her hands with a gentle insistence, as if reminding her that warmth could be more powerful than fire, that light could endure where shadow might consume. She closed her eyes and listened, letting the energy of the flame weave into her own. And in that moment, a presence made itself known, a soft, flowing form that shimmered at the edge of the clearing, visible only when the light caught it just so. "You have come," the voice said, rich and calm, carrying both authority and gentleness. Elara opened her eyes and saw a figure emerging from the shadows, cloaked in robes that glowed faintly, as if the fabric itself were spun from threads of starlight. The figure's eyes were deep pools of amber, reflecting the flame's warmth, and when it spoke again, the sound was like wind over water, steady and patient. "I am the keeper of the last flame. I have been waiting for you, Elara." Elara rose slowly, her heart hammering not from fear, but from recognition. Somehow, she knew this meeting was inevitable. "The last flame?" she asked softly, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I felt it calling me, but why me?" The keeper's gaze did not waver. "Because you have learned to listen," they said. "You have seen the echoes of dreams and the weight of memories. You have walked paths where shadows linger and light persists. Few can hear the whisper of the last flame, let alone approach it with respect and understanding. It is a flame that must be protected, nurtured, and carried with care. And you, Elara, are ready to begin." A shiver of anticipation ran through her, mingled with a delicate tangle of fear. The last flame sounded magnificent and terrifying all at once. To protect it, to be entrusted with something so ancient and fragile, she was not sure she was capable. But the warmth of the flame, the steady pulse beneath her fingers, seemed to reassure her, whispering that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to step forward despite it. The keeper gestured toward a path winding deeper into the forest. The trees here were taller, older, their trunks gnarled with centuries of silent observation. "To approach the flame," the keeper said, "you must first walk the path of understanding. You will face visions, reflections of yourself and the world, and you must learn what it means to be responsible for something greater than your own desires." Elara nodded, her gaze firming with resolve. I will try," she said. "I will do my best." The keeper inclined their head. "Trying is where all beginnings start. Do not mistake the trial for punishment. It is a lesson, a journey within. The flame tests not strength of arm, but strength of heart. Follow its light, and it will guide you where you need to go." As she stepped forward, the clearing seemed to shift around her. Shadows lengthened and swirled, and faint whispers brushed against her ears, fragments of thoughts and feelings that were not entirely her own. Some were tender and encouraging, others cold and questioning. Each shadow seemed to ask her silently, Are you ready? Are you responsible enough? Can you carry what must be carried? Elara walked carefully, letting her heart guide her more than her eyes. The forest responded to her resolve. Branches arched overhead, forming a tunnel of light and shadow, leading her deeper into the unknown. Occasionally, the light of the flame she carried in her mind's eye flickered and wavered, reminding her that the journey ahead would not be easy, that courage would be tested at every step. Hours, or perhaps moments, passed. Time itself seemed to bend beneath the magic of the forest. Strange, luminous flowers bloomed along the path, petals glinting like tiny prisms. The air was filled with scents she could not name, yet somehow recognized. The tang of dawn, the warmth of hearth fires, the subtle perfume of memories left behind. She felt the presence of creatures unseen, a rustle here, a glimmer there. Each seemed to acknowledge her passage, neither hostile nor welcoming, merely observing the unfolding of a destiny that had begun long before she was born. At the edge of a crystalline brook, she paused. The water mirrored the sky above, stars reflected in its rippling surface. As she gazed down, the reflection shifted not just the stars, but herself, her form and her essence. For a heartbeat, she saw herself as she was in the city of echoing dreams, curious, hesitant, searching. And then, in the same reflection, she saw herself transformed, calm, steady, luminous, with a quiet courage. She realized the path she walked was not merely through forests and shadows, but through the landscape of her own heart and spirit. A soft laugh, like wind through chimes, reached her ears. She looked up and saw the keepers standing on the far bank, their form half hidden by the mist rising from the brook. "You are learning already," they said. "The flame is more than a light to protect. It is a mirror, a teacher, and a companion. Keep walking, and the next chapter of your journey will open." Elara swallowed hard and stepped into the water. The brook was cool and shimmering, and as her feet touched the surface, a warmth spread upward, radiating from the very core of the flame she carried in her heart. Each step felt lighter than the last, each ripple a gentle encouragement. And as she emerged on the other side, the forest parted slightly, revealing a narrow path lit with an ethereal glow. The whisper of the flame grew louder, clearer, guiding her forward. Somewhere ahead, the keeper waited, and somewhere beyond them, the last flame pulsed with an unwavering light. Elara felt the weight of anticipation, the thrill of purpose, and the quiet hum of destiny settling around her like a soft cloak. She did not yet know the trials ahead, nor the lessons she would need to learn, but one thing was certain. The journey of the last flame had begun, and with each step, she drew closer to the light that would change everything. And so, beneath the twilight sky and the watchful gaze of stars, Elara walked forward, guided by a whisper that had waited for her across time, space, and memory. A whisper that promised hope, courage, and the promise of something eternal. Part 2. The Trials of Responsibility. The forest stretched before Elara like a living cathedral, each tree a pillar of time, each leaf a whisper from centuries past. The path she followed glimmered faintly beneath her feet, lit by the memory of the flame she carried within her heart. Even though the last light had not yet revealed itself fully, she could feel its rhythm pulsing softly, urging her onward. The keeper walked silently beside her, their presence steady and calm, as though the very earth bent gently to their will. "You must understand," the keeper said at last, their voice carrying a quiet authority, "that the last flame is not merely a source of warmth or light. It is the essence of hope, the bond that connects all life, and the measure of responsibility. Those who seek it must first learn to face themselves, to recognize both the strength and the shadow that resides within." Elara nodded, her steps careful on the moss-covered stones. "I think I understand," she said, though her voice trembled slightly. "It is not just about keeping the flame safe. It is about being ready, about being worthy." The keeper's amber eyes softened. "Exactly. And the first trial begins now. It is not outside you, but within. You will face visions of yourself, of choices made and unmade, of fears that linger quietly beneath the surface. The flame watches, and it will test the steadiness of your heart." As they spoke, the forest shifted. Shadows deepened and swirled, not like ordinary darkness, but like liquid silk, weaving themselves into forms both familiar and strange. Elara paused, her breath catching. Shapes rose around her, echoes of herself, reflections of her past deeds, her doubts, and her fleeting moments of fear. Some were small, almost childlike, fragile shadows of her earliest memories. Others were larger, looming specters of regret and hesitation. The first shadow approached, a smaller version of herself, trembling and uncertain, eyes wide with the weight of mistakes and missed opportunities. "You cannot," the shadow whispered, voice quivering. "You are not strong enough to bear this responsibility. You will fail. You always fail." Alara's chest tightened. She had faced challenges before, but this was different. It was not a riddle to solve or a puzzle to overcome. It was her own self-doubt made tangible. And yet, she remembered the warmth of the flame within her, the pulse of hope that had guided her here. She reached out, gently, speaking to the shadow as she would to a frightened child. "I have stumbled before," she said softly. "I have made mistakes, but I have also learned from them. And I will learn from this too. I will not let fear guide me." The shadow paused, eyes narrowing. It quivered, and then slowly dissipated, leaving behind a faint glow that merged with the light of the flame she carried in her heart. Elara felt a rush of relief, tempered by the knowledge that this was only the beginning. Ahead, the forest opened into a clearing filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflected not just her image, but moments from her past, choices she had made, opportunities she had taken or let slip by, and times when she had faltered in courage. The reflections whispered to her, some sweet and affirming, others sharp and critical. One mirror showed her as a child, hesitant to step forward, afraid of the unknown. Another reflected a moment in the city of echoing dreams when she had chosen to leave someone behind to follow her own path. Each reflection carried weight, reminding her that responsibility was rarely simple, that every choice bore consequences. Elara stepped closer, her fingers brushing the surface of a mirror that shimmered like liquid glass. She saw herself as she truly was, flawed, yet determined, uncertain, yet capable of growth. The mirror whispered again, a voice she recognized as her own. You must choose not only for yourself, but for all who depend on the light. A gust of wind rippled through the clearing, sending the mirrors tilting and spinning. Shadows slithered between the reflections, distorting them, twisting them into shapes meant to unsettle her. The flame in her heart flickered, and for a moment she doubted herself. Could she truly bear the weight of the last flame? Could she face the shadows that arose from her own soul? Then the keeper's voice broke the spell. Responsibility is not perfection, Elara. It is the courage to continue, even when the path is unclear. It is the willingness to face fear, to accept mistakes, and to learn from them. The flame does not demand faultless hearts. It demands hearts that endure. Drawing a deep breath, Elara squared her shoulders and stepped forward. Each mirror she passed challenged her with a new vision, a failure she had feared, a temptation she had resisted, a choice that might have led her astray. She acknowledged each reflection, nodding with quiet resolve. I see you, she whispered to each one, and I will not let you control me. I will carry the light forward. As she spoke, the mirrors began to shimmer and dissolve, their surfaces melting into liquid light that flowed toward the flame she carried. With each step, she felt the weight on her shoulders lighten, replaced by a growing warmth, a steady radiance that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. The trials were not easy, but she felt a deepening strength, a connection to the flame that went beyond physical presence. It was as if her very spirit was being attuned to its rhythm. Finally, she reached a stone pedestal in the center of the clearing. Atop it lay a small lantern, faintly glowing with the same golden warmth as the flame she sought. She lifted it gently, and as she did, the forest seemed to exhale, a soft chorus of wind and whispering leaves celebrating her progress. The keeper stepped closer, their gaze steady and approving. You have faced your doubts, Elara, and acknowledged the weight of choice. Responsibility is not about avoiding failure, but embracing the journey with awareness and care. This is your first step, and the flame has recognized your willingness. Elara felt a surge of gratitude and humility. The path ahead was still long, and the shadow of future trials lingered in the depths of the forest. But for the first time, she understood the meaning of her journey. It was not about control, nor about achieving some perfect state. It was about the commitment to continue, to care, and to learn. The keeper gestured toward the next path, a narrow trail that wound steeply upward, disappearing into mist and moonlight. The journey continues, they said. The flame's light is steady, but it can flicker if not nurtured. You will face greater challenges ahead, shadows that will test not only your courage, but your compassion and discernment. Remember what you have learned here. Elara nodded, lifting the lantern carefully. The flame within responded to her touch, its warmth spreading through her hands, up her arms, and into her chest. It was alive, not just a spark of light, but a living essence that seemed to recognize her commitment. She felt her doubts lessen, replaced by a quiet determination, a readiness to face whatever awaited in the next trial. As she walked along the misty trail, the forest around her seemed to breathe in rhythm with her steps. Shadows lengthened and twisted, yet none could unsettle her. Each reflected her growing understanding, her growing connection to the flame she had vowed to protect. She realized that responsibility was not a weight to carry alone, but a bond to honor, a connection between herself, the flame, and all the lives it touched. Hours passed like minutes, and the mist thickened around her, softening the world into a dreamlike haze. The path rose sharply, revealing glimpses of glowing peaks and valleys below, distant lights twinkling like stars fallen to the earth. Elara felt a thrill of anticipation. The trials ahead would be more difficult, yes, but she knew now that she had begun to meet them not with fear, but with courage, guided by the steady rhythm of the flame. Finally, she paused atop a high ridge, looking down at the forests and rivers stretched out beneath her. The keeper remained a few paces behind, silent, allowing her this moment of quiet reflection. The wind whispered through her hair, and the golden glow of the lantern illuminated her face with soft light. "You have begun well, Elara," the keeper said softly. "Remember that the flame is more than light. It is trust, hope, and the strength to continue even when all seems uncertain. The next trial will test your courage in a new way. Keep your heart steady and let the flame guide you." Elara took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the lantern in her hands and the pulse of the flame in her heart. She understood now that responsibility was not an abstract word, but a living thing, demanding attention, care, and courage. The journey was far from over, yet the first steps had been taken. And in that knowledge, she found a quiet joy, a certainty that even in the darkest shadows, light could endure if one was willing to nurture it. With one last glance at the glowing path below, she turned toward the rising mist and the unknown peaks beyond. Her steps were steady, her heart aligned with the flame she carried. The forest whispered around her, and the keeper followed silently, their presence a gentle reminder that she was not alone. And so, Elara continued, each step a promise to the flame, each breath a pledge to responsibility, each heartbeat a quiet testament to the courage she would need in the trials yet to come. Part 3. Courage in the Face of Shadows. The mist thickened around Elara as she climbed higher into the forested peaks, her lantern casting a gentle glow that barely pierced the rising fog. The trees here were older, taller, their trunks gnarled and silvered with age, their branches stretching like long, protective arms across the path. Yet, despite their seeming guardianship, shadows began to gather, curling along the edges of the trail as if they had been waiting for her arrival. The keeper walked silently beside her, a figure of calm and steadiness. "The next trial will not dwell within your memories or your doubts," they said quietly, their voice like wind over still water. "It will challenge your courage. It will show you the fragility of the flame when faced with darkness. To succeed, you must trust in your heart and act even when fear is strong." Elara's grip tightened on the lantern. She could feel the pulse of the flame within it, steady yet faintly anxious, responding to the tension in the air. She nodded, drawing a deep breath. "I will try," she said, though the words felt small against the weight of what was coming. The shadows moved suddenly, rising from the forest floor like living smoke. They gathered into shapes that resembled creatures she had never seen, their forms shifting constantly, sometimes jagged and threatening, other times smooth and whispering. Eyes of black fire glimmered from the darkness, and the wind carried faint, mocking laughter. Elara's heart quivered, but she kept her gaze on the light of her lantern, letting the warmth of the flame guide her through the haze. "You must not flee from them," the keeper said. "The shadows feed on hesitation. They grow stronger when courage wavers. Step forward with purpose, and they will reveal their true nature." Elara advanced, each step deliberate, feeling the soft glow of the flame in her hands. The shadows twisted around her, reaching for her with tendrils of cold darkness. One coiled around her feet, almost tripping her, and she stumbled but did not fall. She felt the flame pulse, as if urging her onward. A voice within her whispered, "Do not let fear decide your path. Stand, and you will see the light." Suddenly, a figure emerged from the mist, a towering shadow with eyes like molten silver, radiating a cold that cut through the warmth of her lantern. It moved with fluid grace, circling her, testing her, whispering every fear she had ever felt. "You are not ready," it hissed. "You cannot carry the flame. You will fail. You will falter." Elara's breath caught, and for a moment she felt the weight of despair pressing down on her. Memories of past mistakes flickered through her mind, quick and relentless. But then she remembered the first trial, the mirrors, the reflections, the lessons of responsibility. She remembered the quiet pulse of the flame in her heart, a rhythm of hope and steadfastness. She lifted her lantern higher, letting its golden light spill over the shadow. "I am not perfect," she said firmly, her voice steady despite the fear thrumming in her chest. "I will make mistakes, but I will not let them control me. I will carry this light, no matter the darkness." The shadow recoiled, its form wavering and flickering, then reformed, more jagged and threatening than before. It lunged toward her, and instinctively, Elara stepped forward, holding the lantern between them. The light flared, bright and warm, and the shadow hissed, recoiling again. She felt the flame within respond, pulsing with a strength she had not noticed before, as if it drew courage from her determination. "You see it now," the keeper said softly, stepping beside her. The shadows are not invincible. They are shapes of fear, born from uncertainty and doubt. Courage does not banish them entirely, but it allows you to stand against them. Each step forward weakens their hold. Elara nodded, heart racing, and took another step. The shadow lunged again, faster this time, but she did not retreat. She held her lantern before her like a shield, and the golden light spread, casting intricate patterns on the mist, illuminating hidden paths and softening the threatening edges of the darkness. The shadows hissed and writhed, circling her in increasing numbers. Each one whispered her fears, louder and more insistent. You are alone. You are not strong enough. You will fail. And yet, with each whispered accusation, she repeated her quiet mantra. I will not let fear guide me. I carry the light. I carry hope. Slowly, the shadows began to falter. Their forms wavered, their whispers softened, and the silver eyes no longer gleamed with malice, but reflected a faint curiosity, as though they were testing the authenticity of her resolve. Elara realized that the shadows were not enemies to be destroyed, but challenges to be met, to be acknowledged without yielding to despair. She took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the lantern and the pulse of her own heart sink in a steady rhythm. She could feel courage radiating from her, not a loud, brash bravery, but a quiet, unyielding strength that anchored her to the ground and connected her to the flame. The largest shadow lunged once more, faster and closer than before. Elara held the lantern high, letting the golden light flow over it. And in that instant, the shadow paused. Its form rippled, not with menace, but with recognition. The fear it had been trying to impose upon her had no power over a heart that embraced both vulnerability and strength. The shadow dissipated with a low, wind-like sigh, dissolving into the mist and leaving a small golden spark in its place. Elara watched, astonished, as the spark drifted upward and merged with the light of her lantern, strengthening it. Each shadow she faced did the same, testing her, then yielding when she met them with courage. By the time she reached the crest of the ridge, the trail was clear, and the mist had thinned to reveal the next stage of her journey. A valley bathed in a gentle, ethereal light, the far end shimmering with golden warmth. You have done well, the keeper said, their voice calm yet filled with pride. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. You have faced the darkness and allowed the flame to guide you. Remember this lesson. It will serve you in trials that cannot be seen, in moments when shadows are strongest, and in choices that carry weight beyond measure. Elara felt the warmth of the lantern suffuse her chest. She realized that courage was not a single act, but a series of small, deliberate choices. To step forward when the heart trembles, to trust in the light when darkness looms, to honor responsibility without surrendering to doubt. Each shadow she had faced had tested her resolve, and each had strengthened her bond with the flame. The keeper gestured toward the valley. Beyond this ridge lies the heart of the flame's domain. The next trial will test not only courage, but empathy and discernment. You will learn that protection is not merely defense, but understanding. Carry the flame with care, and it will guide you. Elara looked down at the valley below, the golden light of the distant path reflecting in her eyes. The shadows had retreated, leaving only faint tendrils in the corners of the mist, harmless against the steady glow of her lantern. She felt a surge of determination, a quiet confidence that even the darkest forms could not overcome a heart aligned with purpose and hope. She began her descent into the valley, each step measured and calm. The mist swirled around her, softening the edges of the world, transforming the valley into a dreamlike landscape where light and shadow danced in harmony. Strange, luminous flowers bloomed along the edges of the path, petals catching the golden glow of the flame. Small creatures peeked from the undergrowth, watching her pass with curious, gentle eyes. The forest seemed to breathe with her, each rustle of leaves and whisper of wind affirming the strength she had found. "Do you feel it?" the keeper asked softly. "The flame is more than light. It is the courage to face what is unknown, the steadiness to act when fear rises, and the wisdom to continue despite uncertainty. You have begun to understand the first truth of guardianship. The flame grows brighter when met with steadfast courage." Elara nodded, her gaze fixed on the glowing path ahead. She felt the pulse of the flame in her hands, steady, warm, and insistent. Each shadow she had faced had tested her resolve, yet each had also taught her that courage was not a gift to be found, but a strength to be nurtured. She understood now that the trials ahead would demand more than bravery. They would call upon her heart, her discernment, and her empathy. But for the first time, she believed that she could meet them. As she continued along the valley, the first hints of dawn brushed the horizon, painting the sky with soft strokes of pink and gold. The mist lifted slowly, revealing the true scale of the domain she had entered. A vast expanse of forests, rivers, and hills bathed in gentle light, with the distant glow of the final flame visible far beyond. It was both magnificent and humbling, a reminder of the journey yet to come. Elara felt a deep sense of peace, mingled with anticipation. Courage had been tested, shadows had been faced, and the flame within her heart burned brighter than ever. She knew that the path ahead would not be easy, yet she also knew that she had the strength to continue, guided by the warmth of hope and the rhythm of the light she now carried as her own. And so, with steady steps and a heart attuned to the flame, Elara continued her journey, each moment a testament to courage, each breath a pledge to honor the light she would soon protect. The shadows may return, the trials may grow more difficult, but she was ready. The flame was alive in her, and she would not let it falter. Part 4. The Heart of Hope. Elara stepped carefully along the narrow path that wound through the valley, the golden glow of the distant flame now growing steadily brighter with each step. Mist curled around her ankles like gentle fingers, and the air was thick with the scent of moss and ancient earth. Every sound seemed amplified: the rustle of leaves, the distant song of a night bird greeting the first hints of dawn, the rhythmic pulse of the flame within the lantern she carried. Each beat of its light resonated through her chest, steadying her, reminding her of her purpose. The keeper walked silently beside her, a quiet presence that neither hurried nor distracted, allowing her to absorb the landscape and the lesson woven into it. "The flame lies at the heart of this domain," they said softly. "It is not merely a light to be guarded, but a reflection of all who have come before you and all who will follow. To approach it is to embrace both wonder and responsibility. To understand it fully, you must open your heart as well as your mind." Elara nodded, her fingers brushing the warm surface of the lantern. She could feel the heartbeat of the flame growing stronger, more insistent, as if urging her onward. The path before her widened, revealing a serene glade at the center of the valley, bathed in soft, golden radiance. At its center stood a towering crystal lantern, suspended above a pedestal carved from a single block of ancient stone. The lantern glowed from within, the light shimmering like liquid sunlight, warm and steady, alive with its own quiet pulse. Elara stopped for a moment, awestruck. She had expected a flame, yes, but not one so magnificent, so radiant, so deeply alive. It seemed almost to breathe, the light shifting and flowing like the surface of a calm sea stirred by a gentle breeze. Her heart quickened at the sight, a mixture of reverence and anticipation that left her momentarily breathless. The keeper's voice broke the stillness. "This is the flame itself, Elara. It has endured through centuries, witnessed the rise and fall of countless lives, and it has chosen to wait for one ready to carry it with care. Many have come seeking it for glory or power, yet few have been able to approach with the humility and understanding required." Elara stepped closer, lifting the lantern she carried. The two lights her own and the flame seemed to respond to one another, intertwining in a dance of gold and warmth. She felt a surge of wonder, and at the same time, the weight of responsibility pressing gently upon her. To guard this flame was no small task. It was not merely light, it was the embodiment of hope itself, fragile yet enduring, delicate yet infinitely strong. "You must understand," the keeper continued, stepping back slightly, "that the flame is a teacher. It will show you the past and whisper the truths of those who have come before. It will reveal the consequences of neglect, and it will guide you toward wisdom. To touch it fully, you must approach not with haste, but with reflection, compassion, and care." Elara knelt before the pedestal, resting her lantern beside her own. She reached out slowly, fingertips brushing the radiant surface of the crystal lantern. The light pulsed beneath her touch, warm and immediate, as though it recognized her presence. A soft hum filled the air, vibrating through the stones beneath her knees and echoing in her chest. Images began to form within the flame itself, swirling like golden mist. She saw a village long ago, where the flame had guided travelers through darkness, providing warmth and hope to those lost or afraid. She saw forests that had burned, rivers that had dried, and yet the flame endured, carried by those who understood its purpose. She saw figures who had faltered, who had misused its light, and felt the sorrow of lost opportunity, the weight of choices that had failed to honor the gift. And then she saw glimpses of herself, moments of courage and compassion, and the flame seemed to pulse more brightly, responding to her heart as it beat in rhythm with its own. The keeper knelt beside her, their gaze calm and steady. The flame is not simply to be protected. It is to be understood, to be cherished, and to be shared. Those who hold it must know both its fragility and its power. Do you see, Elara? The flame mirrors all who approach it, reflecting not only who you are, but who you choose to become. Elara swallowed hard, her eyes shining with a mix of awe and determination. I see, she whispered. It shows me the past, but also the possibility, the way I can carry it forward. The keeper nodded. Yes, and now you must demonstrate that understanding. The flame's warmth can grow or fade depending on the care you offer. It is not enough to admire it from afar. You must engage with it, nurture it, and let it illuminate the path ahead, not only for yourself, but for those who may one day rely on its guidance. Elara closed her eyes, taking a deep, steadying breath. She imagined the lives the flame had touched, the journeys it had guided, the hope it had ignited in countless hearts. She imagined herself walking through darkness with it as her companion, letting its warmth inspire courage where fear had held sway. As she breathed in, she felt a connection not just to the flame, but to the world itself, to the threads of hope and resilience woven into every life. When she opened her eyes, the crystal lantern pulsed brighter, as though acknowledging her intent. She reached out fully, placing her hands upon the smooth surface. Warmth flooded through her arms, chest, and heart, spreading outward like sunlight through the mist. It was not a heat that burned, but a light that penetrated, illuminating her deepest fears and quietest strengths alike. Good, the keeper said softly. Now listen. The flame will speak to you if you allow it. It will not use words, but images, feelings, and memories. Attend to it with your heart, and you will learn what is necessary to carry it forward. The golden light shimmered, coalescing into visions that floated around her like drifting clouds. She saw herself guiding a small child through a darkened forest, offering comfort and direction. She saw herself standing in a village where hope had faltered, raising the light to restore courage and warmth. She saw her own fears manifest, moments when hesitation might have endangered the flame, and felt a gentle reminder. Responsibility is not avoidance of failure, but the willingness to act with wisdom and compassion. Tears welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but of understanding. The flame was not simply an object to guard. It was a living symbol of all that was good and enduring in the world. Its light needed her care, her discernment, her empathy. It needed someone willing to face both the beauty and the fragility of hope itself. "You are ready to carry it," the keeper said, their voice barely more than a whisper, yet ringing with certainty. "Not because you are flawless, but because you understand its purpose and you are willing to commit your heart to it. The flame responds not to perfection, but to devotion, courage, and care." Elara nodded, placing her forehead gently against the crystal lantern. She felt the warmth seep into her, becoming part of her, aligning with the pulse of her own heartbeat. The flame's light enveloped her, not blinding, but comforting, a reminder that even in the darkest night, hope could endure. As she lifted her head, she noticed the keeper watching her, a quiet smile of pride gracing their features. "You have learned the essence of stewardship," they said. "Courage, responsibility, and care are the foundation. But remember, hope is fragile. It must be nurtured, shared, and carried with intention. That is the true power of the flame." Elara held the lantern close, feeling its steady pulse echo through her body. She understood now that her journey was not over, but that she had reached a turning point. The trials of fear and responsibility had prepared her to embrace the flame fully, to carry it forward into the world beyond this sacred glade. The keeper gestured to the path leading out of the valley, a trail that wound upward toward distant peaks bathed in early morning light. "The final stage awaits," they said. "You will carry the flame beyond this domain, and with it, the lessons you have learned. Remember always, courage, compassion, and hope are inseparable. To bear the flame is to honor all three." Elara rose, lantern in hand, feeling its warmth intertwine with her own strength. Each step forward was measured and deliberate, a quiet affirmation of her commitment. The valley behind her glowed softly in golden light, a sanctuary of reflection and learning, and the path ahead shimmered with promise. As she walked, she felt the pulse of the flame in harmony with her heartbeat, a steady rhythm that reminded her of the connection between her heart and the light she now carried. She understood that her journey was not about reaching an end, but about maintaining the flame's warmth through every step, every choice, and every moment of care. The keeper followed silently, their presence a gentle reassurance that she was not alone, even as the world beyond awaited. And in that understanding, Elara found a deep, abiding peace. She was ready to carry the flame, to honor its light, and to spread hope wherever her path might lead. The horizon ahead shimmered with promise, the mist lifting to reveal the peaks that awaited her ascent. The flame pulsed gently in her hands, steady and unwavering, a living beacon of courage and possibility. Elara knew that the journey ahead would still test her, that shadows might return, and new trials would challenge her understanding. Yet she also knew that the heart of hope now burned within her, and that she would carry it with unwavering care. And so, beneath the soft glow of the dawn and the watchful presence of the keeper, Elara continued forward, the flame steady in her hands, her heart aligned with its rhythm, and her spirit filled with the knowledge that hope, when nurtured, could never be extinguished. Part 5. The Keeper of the Last Flame. The morning sun spilled gently across the valley, scattering mist like delicate ribbons of gold. Elara's lantern glowed softly in her hands, steady and warm, a living pulse of hope she now understood as part of herself. The keeper walked beside her, their presence calm and unyielding, like the quiet guidance of a river through mountains. Together, they followed the winding path that led from the heart of the flames domain toward the peaks beyond, where the horizons stretched vast and inviting, hinting at the worlds that awaited her care. "You have learned much," the keeper said, their voice serene, carrying the weight of centuries and the quiet warmth of encouragement. "You have faced fear, acknowledged your doubts, and nurtured the flame itself. But to carry the light beyond this place is to embrace the responsibility of guardianship fully. The final lesson is not of trial or vision, but of action. The flame must leave the sanctuary with you." Elara inhaled deeply, feeling the warmth of the lantern merge with her own heartbeat. She understood now that the flame was not a burden, but a companion, a living essence of hope, courage, and care that had chosen her as its steward. She had been tested, guided, and shaped to this moment, and she felt a quiet certainty settle within her chest. "How do I carry it?" she asked softly. "How do I ensure it remains strong?" The keeper's amber eyes met hers, patient and knowing. "Carry it with intention. Let its light guide your actions. Let its warmth inspire your decisions. And let its pulse remind you of the balance between strength and compassion. The flame will respond to the steadiness of your heart. You will not need to force it. It will move with you as naturally as your own breath." Elara nodded, her fingers tightening around the lantern. The pulse of the light within resonated with her heartbeat, a gentle but insistent rhythm that seemed to say, "I am yours as you are mine." The path before her opened gradually into a wide expanse of rolling hills, rivers, and forests stretching beyond the horizon. Light shimmered on every surface, reflecting gold and violet hues, as if the world itself recognized the significance of this journey. The keeper paused, turning to face her. "Before you leave this domain, you must make a choice. The flame is powerful, yes, but it requires understanding. You must promise to use it not for vanity, not for power, but for hope, guidance, and care. Only then will it burn fully within you, steady and unwavering." Elara's eyes held the golden glow of the lantern, reflecting a depth of understanding she had never possessed before. She lifted the lantern higher, allowing the light to illuminate her face. "I promise," she said firmly, her voice resonating with conviction. "I will carry the flame with care, with courage, and with hope. I will honor its light in all that I do." The keeper inclined their head, a faint smile gracing their features. "Then it is done. You are now the keeper of the last flame. It is yours to guide, to nurture, and to share. Remember, the flame is not only a light in the darkness, it is a living reflection of all who carry it, and it grows strongest when met with steady hearts and compassionate hands. A gentle breeze stirred the tall grasses around them, carrying the faint fragrance of distant forests and rivers. The mist that had clung to the valley lifted, revealing a path that led upward, toward jagged peaks touched by sunlight. Elara felt the flame respond to the openness of the world, pulsing warmly, its rhythm in harmony with her own. As they began the ascent, shadows lingered along the edges of the path, but they no longer held a threat. The lessons she had learned, responsibility, courage, hope, had transformed her perception. Fear no longer dominated her thoughts. Instead, it was a guide, a signal to act with care and awareness. Each step was deliberate, purposeful. Each breath a quiet affirmation of the promise she had made. The climb was steep, yet the air was light, scented with pine and dew. Birds called softly in the distance, and small animals paused to watch her pass, their eyes reflecting curiosity rather than fear. The world seemed to acknowledge her presence, bending gently to the rhythm of the flame she now bore. It was as if the entire valley, the forests, the rivers, and the distant mountains were breathing in unison with her, harmonizing with the heartbeat of hope she carried. At the summit of the highest peak, the path opened to a panoramic view of the world beyond. Vast forests rolling into distant plains, rivers shimmering like molten silver, and cities dotting the horizon, unaware of the light that now moved among them. The keeper stood beside her, a figure of quiet strength, allowing her this moment to absorb the immensity of what lay ahead. "You will not walk alone," the keeper said. "Though the flame is yours, it connects you to all who have held hope before you, and to all who will rely on its guidance. The journey ahead will test your discernment, your compassion, and your courage. Remember that every choice echoes, every action matters, and every moment is an opportunity to let the light shine." Elara lifted the lantern, feeling the warmth flow through her arms and into her heart. The flame pulsed steadily, a living presence that seemed to understand her intent, as if affirming her readiness. She felt a quiet exhilaration, a deep connection to the world around her, and a profound sense of purpose. She was not just a bearer of light, she was a guide, a guardian, a vessel through which hope could endure. The keeper stepped back, their gaze lingering on her. "Your journey begins now," they said. "Go forward with courage, with wisdom, and with care. The world awaits, and the flame will guide you through shadow and light alike." Elara nodded, her chest filled with a mixture of awe and determination. She lifted the lantern higher, letting its golden glow spread across the summit, illuminating the peaks, the valleys, and the horizon beyond. The light pulsed in harmony with her heartbeat, steady, warm, and insistent. She felt its strength infuse her spirit, a living reminder of the lessons she had learned: courage in the face of fear, responsibility in the face of doubt, and hope in the face of darkness. Taking her first step down the path that led into the world beyond the flame's sanctuary. She felt the rhythm of the light guide her movements. Shadows lay across the trail, yet they no longer held menace. Instead, they were part of the world she was entrusted to care for, signals of challenges that would test her resolve, lessons to be learned, and opportunities to act with wisdom and compassion. As she descended, she noticed how the light of the lantern touched everything it passed. A delicate flower swayed in the breeze. A small stream reflected the glow like liquid gold, and the distant forests seemed to ripple with gentle acknowledgement. The flame's warmth extended beyond her hands, filling the air around her with a quiet, living presence. She realized then that hope was not simply carried, it radiated, influencing the world, shifting darkness into light, and guiding those who wandered into uncertainty. At a bend in the path, she paused to glance back at the valley where her journey had begun. The glade where the flame had first revealed itself shimmered faintly in the morning light, a memory etched into her heart. She felt gratitude for the lessons, for the keeper's guidance, and for the challenges that had shaped her. Each step, each trial, had prepared her to become what she now was: a guardian, a keeper, a bearer of light in a world that needed it more than she had ever realized. The keeper spoke softly, as if sensing her reflection. "Remember this, Elara. The flame does not belong to you alone. It belongs to the world it illuminates. You are its steward, its guide, its protector. Carry it wisely, and its light will endure far beyond what you can imagine." Elara smiled, lifting the lantern toward the rising sun. "I will honor it," she said. "I will carry it with care, with courage, and with hope. I will let it guide me, and I will share its light wherever it is needed." The keeper inclined their head, then slowly faded into the morning mist, leaving her alone on the summit. But she did not feel lonely. The flame pulsed steadily in her hands, alive with the lessons she had learned and the purpose she had embraced. She felt the connection to all who had come before her and to those who would follow, a thread of hope linking hearts across time and space. With a final glance at the horizon, Elara began her descent into the world below. The path stretched out before her, winding through forests, over rivers, and across valleys bathed in golden light. She could feel the flame responding to the life around her, the rustle of leaves, the call of distant birds, the whisper of the wind across the grass. It was a living guide, a companion, and a reminder that hope, when nurtured, could transform not only the bearer, but all who were touched by its glow. As the sun climbed higher, painting the world in warm, golden hues, Elara walked with steady steps, her heart aligned with the rhythm of the flame. She knew the journey ahead would hold trials, choices, and moments of doubt. Yet she also knew that she was ready. Courage, responsibility, and hope pulsed within her, and the last flame burned brightly in her hands, a beacon of light in a world that often forgot how to shine. And so, beneath the vast expanse of sky, amidst the forests, rivers, and valleys of the world, Elara became the keeper of the last flame. She carried it not as a burden, but as a living promise, a promise to nurture hope, to guide the lost, and to illuminate the path for those who wandered through darkness. Each step she took was a testament to her courage, each breath a pledge to the flame, and each heartbeat a reminder that light endures when it is met with care. The world stretched endlessly before her, filled with shadows and wonders alike, and yet she felt no fear. She was the guardian now, the keeper, the bearer of hope. And as the golden light of the flame mingled with the warmth of the rising sun, she understood fully that this was only the beginning, a journey without end, guided by the pulse of courage, the strength of responsibility, and the enduring glow of hope itself. And so, Elara steps forward as the keeper of the last flame, carrying hope, courage, and light into a world full of shadows and wonder. Every journey is a story, and every ending is a new beginning. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Candle by the Sea, so you can continue exploring magical adventures, mystical realms, and bedtime stories that warm the heart. Sweet dreams.